clock says 11, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. If you have not put your name and library in the chat, please do so that I can make sure your library gets credit for attending. Um, as always, if it doesn't work next month or whatever, you can always go back and read the minutes, watch the video. Um, Let me know, and I'll give you credit that way too. So there's both ways. I want to go ahead and jump in with just a little bit of a permission project follow-up. The majority of what we were hoping to do were moved to the production server on March 16th. Unfortunately, cataloging permission changes have tentatively been delayed until sometime in May, I believe. So the circulation permissions changed, and the moving permissions around and deleting permissions changed, but cataloging is still held up for just a little bit. Better to get it. They just realized they weren't quite ready to pull the trigger, and I agree that I think it's better to just wait until we get it closer to where we really want it before we try to put it in place. So the other thing I wanted to make sure all of you know is I would like to know if there are permissions that a wide variety of libraries have had to go back and add in. Um, and if so, my thought is, well, if a big number of libraries are using this permission and we, for some reason, did not include it, perhaps it should be included in the baseline of what we would consider like as it when a new library would come into the consortium. So if you want to just individually email me, if you have, um, one permission even, but if 25 libraries are adding the same permission, then perhaps it's worth it to put it in that baseline. So there is a list that kind of tells you what what they mean. If you go to the Evergreen documentation page, and then on that left-hand side where it kind of has a contents, go all the way to the bottom, and there should be like permission definitions. I will tell you, sometimes I read the permission definition and I still don't know what that really means. Or the other thing that could happen is, yes, you need this permission, but it works in tandem with this other permission. So it's not quite as straightforward as what um, you might hope it would be. So does that answer that question? Hopefully. Okay. So the other thing is if there's anybody that encounters problems with the changes, it's not working as you think it should be, that's also something to let me know about so that I can work with Equinox in case something was messed up in the process. So, all right. Um, the Circulation Committee worked a little bit on aged patron circulation information history. And so I wanted to tell you some of the other things that I discovered. I pulled some other Evergreen consortium as well as some other multi-branch library systems to inquire what do they do? Is there some kind of standard that we just don't know about? And the good news or the bad news, depending on how you want to look at it, is no, there's no standard. So currently, of the ones that I polled, which is, not an exhaustive list, um, one did it in 7 days. They did not share outside of their building. So, okay, that made sense to me. But um, 30 days like us, 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, 5 years, and then one consortium said, we don't ever age things. So they're all over the map. So looking for a okay, this is what kind of the industry standard is of it, that I don't think it exists. So the next thing I did was contact the Missouri State Library to see if they had any kind of recommendation for us. And it was kind of a recommendation, but not necessarily a recommendation. So let me explain what they said. Um, Typically, their position is that because the way we are wanting to use that patron information falls under the business side of running a library, the retention period could be up to 2 years. So just because it could be up to 2 years doesn't, it wasn't like they said, oh no, this is what the what we really suggest you do. So that was what I found out. And then the committee kind of all we were emailing each other back and forth. Um, and so I believe the majority of us agreed with a consensus of changing the policy to be 60 days, so adding another month, and up to four patrons that we could see. So will you always be able to see four patrons? No, because it's not going to fall into that 60-day window. So that was kind of our consensus, but I'm also wanting to hear from other libraries. We did not make a definitive decision, and we'll probably try to do that today so that we can make a recommendation on Thursday to the executive board. But what what is anybody else's feedback?
Well, the MLC directors who have spoken to me were still in favor of staying with the 30 days and two patrons in that it protects patron privacy the best. And we've already taken the most challenging step, which is to put it in place. And I think any backsliding is just not something that they are interested in doing. So that is the perspective of several of the MLC directors, some of whom are here, so they might like wish to chime in with additional.
I'm sorry I'm late to this, but I think when we talked about this before, my issue has been because of how it moves around in the system before it gets back to me. A lot of times, especially if somebody's let them have the two checkouts that are in addition to the initial checkout, sometimes 60 days is just not enough to know what has happened to the item as it's moved through. So, I mean,
Okay,
I'm not in favor of 30 days at all, but 60 days doesn't even seem like enough.
I will say some of the changes that have happened with why can I triggered events. You can now see triggered events, items that were on hold. You can see the history of um, of that. So it'll, when you pull up triggered events for a particular item, it will show on circulations, it's going to show who was the last person who had it. But if you go over, click into holds, it will show you a list of people who have had it on hold. So they were notified that it was there. Now, whether they actually checked it out or not, that you can't tell, but you can tell that they were notified for a um, a hold. So that helps a little bit with items moving from one place to another place to another place.
I think too that the later topic that you have on the agenda, Rhonda, about the item condition reports, and staff training on all sides, really, about using the condition reports, sending things home when they are damaged, that will help us find those problems sooner so that we do see those things within whatever limit the consortium decides to put in place.
I agree. We just can't talk about, I mean, it's all connected, but we need to kind of deal with one thing at a time. Um, does anybody else want to chime in before the committee is basically, we're going to vote on this. And so this is your big chance to say what you want.
Sure, I'll say something if you can hear me.
I can.
Okay. I have worked in a few different library systems before I came to Missouri. I've never worked in a system where we can see more than 2 patrons back for any privacy reason. I think the issue that we have now in terms of we have, enough, to me, and this is just my opinion, we have enough safeguarding right now as it is, because we want to safeguard patron privacy. And going back 4 patrons can also bring up to me the idea of, I don't know who did what to, I don't know who did what to which item. That could get really dicey the further back you go. And it also, I'm going to say it, it might, how are your patron relationships going with that kind of ability to see, 3 or 4 patrons back? I'm not suggesting we'd all use it in that way, but I think it would affect your patron interactions. I know that some of you may need, this is a line item in your budget, and I respect that. But I also think we really have to consider the foundational issue of privacy for libraries as a whole. So that is my note. I don't like where this is going. Let me put it like that. So,
Rhonda, can I clarify one thing?
I was
Sure.
gonna, yeah.
I want to clarify that it's not necessarily for patrons, it's for circulations. And Darcy, that may have been where you're going.
Yep,
So
exactly.
for example, my patrons can renew once. And so that's 2 circulations of an item. And so it would be potentially 2 patrons. So I just wanted to clarify that it's not necessarily for patrons. It is about circulations.
still a
Yes,
privacy
to
issue.
piggyback, just to piggyback what Belinda said, I know there are libraries in the consortium that allow 1 checkout and 2 renewals, which eats up 3 of those quote unquote patrons. So essentially you're just left with the person that had it last that said, hey, I just took this home and discovered it was missing chapter 3. And then the person that had it for the checkout and the 2 renewals or whatever.
Yes, but my point is not circulation. My point is privacy issues. As librarians, aren't we supposed to, safeguard the privacy of our patrons? How does going back 4 patrons help solve this kind of issue? That's my point.
And I think the only time meaning me, this library, goes back, would want to go four back is a missing disc from a $65 TV show or something. I feel like damage, no, I would never go back beyond 1 patron. We just don't. But missing discs in our audiobooks and DVDs, that's the only time. But I agree with everything all of you are saying. I agree with all of that. I'm for the privacy of the patrons, but I'm on the Cirque side of, trying to solve a mystery of, I'd really love to have that 1 disc, and we can't replace 1 disc, unfortunately. Somebody wanted to start a business, that would be the business to start right there. Making individual discs of every single movie ever made, but that's not going to happen. So it's a very difficult situation, but I think I'm with the Heather a little bit about the 30 days almost. That's all we've ever had, and so far so good. So
And part of, I realize Cass County is a little bit I mean, we're on the larger end of funding in the consortium. And so, I mean, for us, it's easy to say, okay, this is just part of doing business, the part of the benefit of um, the resource sharing that we get outweighs the cost of what we might lose in a year. But I can remember before we passed our levy, back a few years, um, our if something was lost, damaged, missing, it did not probably get replaced because we just did not have the budget to do it. And so I mean, that's what's so hard about the issue is there's valid considerations on both, whichever side you come down on, there's valid considerations that you have to look at. It's like doing the dance between the two things. So, okay, is there anybody else that would like to add anything before?
I just want to say, like, we're one of the larger budgeted libraries, I suppose, and the consortium also. And it is the kind of the cost of doing business. I think I'm used to the 30 days right now. I griped about it at first. Now I'm used to it. I think 60 days isn't a bad idea, but I also agree with everyone else's points. Could we meet in the middle and maybe do 45 days? If we were to make this change to give us just a little extra, I'm not worried about how many patrons back it can go because really it depends on days. It's not patrons, it's days that's accounting for. So, I don't know, 45 days is kind of middle ground. I don't have a strong opinion on this. Whatever you guys decide, I will deal with it. If it doesn't change from 30 days, nothing's changing for us anyways. So, anyways, that's it.
Well, Rhonda, I appreciate your comments about the cost of this because we are a small district. We don't have the huge tax influx of money. And so replacing items for us is not always an option. And then we're set back to, okay, now we always have to resource share something for our patrons because our budget's not going to allow for us to replace it. So that's kind of where my concern was. And I appreciate you addressing that.
All right. Okay, here we go. I think we're going to have to kind of weed it down to decide what we want to do. So, this is CIRC committee, and if you are on the CIRC committee, I want your opinion. You can't just sit there and not say anything. You are on the hot seat now. So, how many of you say we've been doing 30 days? We're all used to it now. Let's stay with 30 days.
Heather.
So I see
Uh,
one.
Belinda here, I don't think we're at a consensus to be able to make a decision, so I don't think I'm ready to change anything or make a recommendation to change anything until I feel like more people are on board with the decision. I feel like we're really split, so that's my opinion.
I
Yeah,
would
I
tend
agree
to
with
agree.
Belinda. I think just stay with the 30 days at this point.
Okay,
Me
Yeah,
too.
Is
I
that-
think
go ahead.
I was just going to say I agree as well.
I agree.
Okay, this does not mean that we cannot consider further, but it does mean that at this point, we are going to stay with the 30-day. We're just basically everything is going to stay the same of what we already have. Macy had a thing in the comment, should we have members start tracking situations that take, the 30 days does not, how big a problem is this really? Because I mean, I've had sometimes where it just felt like this is happening all the time. And then I go back and really look at how many times it did happen and it wasn't as much as what I thought it was. So that might be if your library has concerns with the 30-day thing, track how many issues you might really have with that, and that might inform a different decision. But at this point, we're going to just stay as we are. Okay.
Rhonda, can I interrupt you for
Yeah.
just a second?
Yeah.
As it happened right this minute, this decision is, sort of tilted in the direction I wanted, but I want to qualify that because I want to compliment you on your extremely respectful and balanced handling of this issue. I think that's enormously important because we got to stay together and we got to keep working together. And I think just the way you just conducted this discussion was really outstanding, and I thank you for it.
Well, thank you. All right. Item condition reports. That was the other thing we looked at last month, and the idea was brought forward to possibly use item alerts. And I feel fairly confident, or like 95% confident in saying that that the circulation committee did not want to move in that way at this time. We were not saying never, but not at this time. In the discussion, though, that we had, Darcy, in the email she has created her own special Missouri item condition report that is a full page, so she has two of them per page. So they're a lot longer, a lot bigger, with the hope that as you stick that into your book, number one, it's going to stay in there better. And number two, it's hanging off the edge to where it can be seen and not missed. And so it is my hope. I don't know when I will have, certainly not this week. And if somebody else on the committee wanted to take it on, if we could work on developing kind of like a standardized version of what Darcy had that we could also post on the website. So either or, I mean, I think for a DVD, those little ones, you can stick it right in there. That's great. But for some of the books and things, if you're sending it home with a patron with a condition report in it, it's going to be a lot easier to keep track of that. So that is our goal. Committee am I
Yeah,
summarizing?
I love it. I love Rhonda's. I'm not Rhonda's. Darcy's
Darcy.
slip. I had her send it, or we got it wherever we got. Darcy, did you send it to me? I can't remember.
I think I sent it to the CERC committee.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
The only
it's
edit we
also-
made is along the top of it, we wrote conditions report in capital letters, because that way it doesn't look like a hold slip or
Right.
anything
Right.
else. It's clear to staff that this is something I need to look at. That's the only change.
Yeah. And we made it more detailed for the purpose of being easier on frontline staff. Like if it's got torn page, you can check that and scribble, page 322 or something, to make it a little easier than having to like write a paragraph about what's wrong with the book.
Yeah, I love the idea of a standardized and like having the options that are kind of a good guide for frontline staff to know what to even look for.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'd be glad to help with any editing of that as well. So I think Heather said she would in the chat, maybe.
Yeah. We edited some of the things that we do that, and maybe that's a meeting to have, is like, let's get a consensus of what's on there. And that way we can do what and you can always make a note. There's always be a place to write something that's not on there.
Something other.
Yes, some other crazy thing that might happen.
Okay. All right, I saw a question and in chat. Can anybody just real quick pull up chat? What was that last question? And I missed it.
Do you have success with the patrons keeping that in the book? Darcy, I guess that's to you.
We really do. And our frontline staff are super good about being like, hey, this has to stay with the book. because if it doesn't and it comes back, we might have to charge you for whatever damages these are. And they're pretty good to just leave it in there. But like I say, our frontline staff are really good to communicate that, because usually the damaged ones tend to be just regular hold users. But I know too, if there's like a self check or lockers or things like that, it might be a little bit harder. We don't have those, so.
Yeah, in my experience, as soon as people hear, if this does not come back with your item, you might be charged for it, attention levels go up. And I always do. I mean, I do work pretty hard on trying to get, if it's a children's item, getting that to the parent as opposed to, or guardian, whichever, as opposed to the child.
Yeah, again, staff training is so critical.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. This next one, within about a week and a half, I got 2 or 3 questions on this. And so I just thought I would talk a little bit about it. Most of you probably understand it, but because a couple of questions came into me, I thought, okay, well, let's just go over it. So there's, personally, I would just as soon almost not know what my Q position is, because it's a living thing. It can change, right now I could be in 51st place on something, and then a few minutes later, something has changed and 5 things have been filled, and now I'm a lot farther, a lot closer. So I talked to Equinox to just so that I would make sure that I was understanding it correctly. And this is their response. So I'm going to be reading here. Global queue position represents a holds place in the entire consortium-wide queue for that target. In contrast, relative queue position is context dependent. It varies based on the scope of the view and the specific screen you're looking at. Of course, it's never easy. You can't say relative queue is this and it is going to be that way all the way across the board. No, that's not true. So on a patron's hold screen, relative position is almost always 1 for each hold. So number 1. Unless the patron has multiple holds on the same bibliographic record, in which case it's going to say this book was put on hold first, this one was second, this one was third, this one was fourth. So that's in your hold screen that somebody's looking at. So when viewing all the holds for a single bibliographic record, if you look at, like the hold thing, you're into the item and you're looking for how many holds are on that particular record. If it's scoped to the consortium level, the relative queue position matches global, exactly the same. If it's scoped to a system or library level, it shows only the position among holds within that scoped group. Here's the thing I did not think about when I just got the answer and thought, okay, I do not know if it is a consortium-wide setting, or if we could say, okay, at Cass County, I want this set to show just Cass County's things. I will freely admit I didn't think about asking them on that. So that perhaps could be up for interpretation there. Okay, and then on the pull list, the relative queue position shows the order among competing holds that target local items on the same bib. So queue position, both global and relative, are dynamic, and they can change as hold are captured, canceled, reordered due to circulation activity, something happens. Therefore, I don't know. I can only tell you what we do at Cass County. Our patrons want to see it, and so we typically will tell them what that number is, but we will also try to explain to them that it's like two list merged into one list. So there's where you are in the whole global thing. And then there's also where you are in the Cass County list, because my Cass County items are going to go to my Cass County people before they go out to the consortium. So there's also good logic for just not showing that information because it changes fairly frequently. So, um, there you go. That's the information that I got. Do with it as your library wills. Um, it's just, I don't know. In Cass County, everybody wants to know where they are in line on something. Well, if it's a new thing, you might be 520th in line. So it's going to be a while. So anyway, that is that. Okay, moving on. I wanted to, several years ago, I think it was in 2023, the Circulation Committee did regional in-person circulation training at 4 different locations across the state. So we did Scenic, Poplar Bluff, Barry Lawrence, and we did Livingston County. So we did those 4 places in 2023. So since that time, for a while, I was told, well, the CAN committee is going to take over that. And then now I decided I would check in on it since we hadn't really heard anything, and they are focusing a different way. And so I guess what I'd like for you to do, if you think your library would be interested in attending a regional in-person circulation training, would you put that in the chat? And not just yes, I mean like Cass County, yes. Trails, yes, something like that. Um, we want to put something together if people are interested. Most likely it would probably be sometime in September or October. Um, so it would be the only cost involved to your library would be getting the person there. I guess in the past there was no fee for attending any of these. So if you're interested, you're not signing your life away at this point. It's just I'm trying to figure out, okay, if there's a bunch of libraries toward the north part of the state, I definitely want to do something there. If there's some, try to pick spots that the most people can get to that are interested in it. So, all right.
I love that training. I met people that day that I still am in contact with, and it's really one of my favorite trainings we've had since we joined Evergreen.
Yeah. Plus, you get to go to whatever library it is, and you get to tour their library and see what all interesting things they're doing, and so some of these libraries are beautiful. If you have not been to Livingston County Library, that is a beautiful library. Poplar Bluff also has that old wood, beautiful thing. And then Barry Lawrence, when we were there, it's like a new, shiny new, um, so just all kinds of different things. So if you're interested, go ahead and put that in there. Um, the next thing on the list is the users conference, and I wanted to bring this to your attention one more time because today is the last day you can get the discounted hotel rate. So if you've been kind of on the fence and not really decided yes or no, if you think you're going to stay at the hotel, um, this is your day to get that done for um, the discounted rate. Um, Courier labels, I don't think there's been any changes since last time. Mala did come to Cass County. We were supposed to be the test people for for North Kansas City's already been doing it. We were supposed to be the test people for, okay, a little bit bigger library sending to a lot of different places. So they came and realized that something in the database was not correct. So they were there for about an hour and they took some of the stuff back and we have not heard back from them. So I was all hopeful that perhaps the good news is, from what I saw, it is not going to be a big increase in staff time. Procedures will have to be a little bit different, but it's not like I was afraid it was going to be some really time-consuming process, and that is not. It's basically you pack everything into the thing and you say, okay, I want two, three, however many, containers you're sending. Um, I want to print that many labels and you print them and you're good to go. So it's not real. That's a very shortened, not every step in there, but it's not going to be as bad once they get it figured out. So,
So Rhonda, I did have a question on that.
yeah,
With with the delivery drivers, are they going to be required to scan every individual like bag?
that would be a yes. So it will become more important. Our packing will become a little bit more important. So if you have like a tote thing, a big container, and you've got 4 or 5 different libraries things in there, they're going to be scanning each one of those, each mala bag, if you have a box, it's only going to be one scan. If everything's going to the same place, it's all going to be just one scan. So,
Because yeah, I
but
mean, we may have 50 plus bags each day. So they're going
right.
to have to take all of those out of the totes and scan them.
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
no.
Well, what we were thinking, and Bethany, are you on here? Have you
I'm
worked with
here.
that?
I'm going tomorrow to North Kansas City to see how they do it to kind of figure out how I'm going to do it. But Jane had contacted me last week about going.
Yeah. Is there anybody from North Kansas City on our Zoom today?
Yeah, I'm here.
Jennifer, oh yeah, you are here. Can you kind of explain better? Because like I say, they were only here for about an hour.
Yeah, I can. I don't know what all Mala would want me to say or not say. I can share my screen if people want to see. I don't know if that's enough. Okay, I'm getting lots of
Sure.
thumbs up, but okay, hang on. Let me pull it up before I share my screen. You guys see that I have 157 tabs open. Um,
Yeah, you're just like everybody else, so.
I was gonna say, same, Jennifer, same.
okay, do you guys see Capital Express at the top?
We do.
Okay, perfect. So this is what the portal looks like. If there are specific questions, shout out what you need me to answer. But this is what it looks like. I'm not really sure why this says no future date. Normally it would say tomorrow's date with our pickup window, which is 9 to 11. Same thing with our address. This isn't looking good for Capital right now.
Yeah.
But this is what it is. So oh, okay. Hold on. Let me log out and log back in and see if that fixes it. Okay. I
There
don't
we
know.
go.
Yeah, don't know. But it lists all the libraries that are in Mala. So there are ones that obviously aren't Missouri Evergreen. And you just pick them, hit add to order. You can add as many as you want. I've never had it not work. And then it lists there. When you're done, you hit finalize and it will pull up all of the labels. I'll actually do one for Cass because we almost always have a slip for Cass.
It's true.
Yeah, no. So then from there, you would see your labels. Do you see my print screen? Okay.
Yep.
So it'll only fit 3 labels on a paper, which is a little different than what it is now. I think there's 6. But then you would print this and stick it on your bag or your tote. So You can go to tracking. I will say they've been updating the tracking, so like it can get kind of messy. They just put in all these search features so you could search a library, you can search things that are picked up yes or no, dates. So then this is the one I just made for Cass. So that's that.
I really hope you have something coming to us. I don't want to.
Oh no, I do. Oh, that is
Okay,
one
good,
thing
good,
that Cass or that they all talk about is like it's got its own barcode. So like that's why I chose Cass because I always have something going to Cass. If you did make something that you didn't end up needing or wanting or something, they have to go in and delete it. And I believe Mala at this moment has to do that. Oh, hang on. I was going to stop sharing my screen.
So
So
Jennifer,
that's that.
Macy had a question.
Yes.
We're both in the Kansas City hub.
Yes.
So let's say it's going to St. Louis. When it gets to St. Louis, do they scan it at the St. Louis hub?
I believe not. I believe there has been some back and forth on that. At this moment, I believe no.
Hello?
You do not need 2 labels per box. We have changed. Oh, Lori's here.
Oh, I thought I should join in case I could help with any questions.
That's great.
They are recommending currently that you do 1 label per box on the short side. If you print 2 labels, they will have 2 different barcodes, which is a big no-no. Maybe at some point we make a copy, but at this moment we're saying 1 on the short side. We do have we don't have a dedicated printer. We have a printer in our circ workroom that is really only used for this. And it's just a normal printer.
And as far as what gets scanned where, I think that's sort of still being determined as this pilot project goes on. But for our part, this is how we do it. And then as far as the question about does the label have a record of each item in the bag? No.
Oh, yeah, I missed that
No,
one.
it does not. Well, we've done the 2 bags of its box, so she answered that. Dedicated printer.
What do you mean by advance? You can't reuse them. You can't. I mean, they're set
Because
to
it's
pick up on
date.
they're set to pick up on a certain day. So if you printed a label and then didn't use it, at least our guy would be like, "Where's this bag?" I don't know if they'll all be like that, but our guy is.
My question is, I have a similar question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut someone off if somebody's still talking.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, as far as the in advance thing, also you'd have to know you have things going to that library. Otherwise, you would have a label not going anywhere.
Okay, my question, the way our current courier process goes is, we scan a book and it says, oh, this is going to Cass County. And so we take it back to tax services and we have metal shelves. And then we pull a Cass County label out of our box and put it with a magnet on the metal shelf in front of the stack. And then when it's time to bag it up, we choose a bag of the size that matches the stack. And then we tuck the label in the bag. So maybe that's what they mean by advance, because I was going to ask the same thing. Like, can we print the label as soon as we know that we have something going to that library on our next courier day?
Yeah,
sure. Sure.
And the extended service labels at this point, I believe that they are done the same way they used to be. Like, there's no change to those. This is purely for those Henry, I think of them as Henry labels still, but those labels.
So my question is this pilot program limited to just the larger libraries, or is it going to be forced down to smaller libraries as well?
Well,
we're not a larger library.
Yeah, North Kansas City is a one branch library. So that's why, and they're really close to Mala. So that's why they started with North Kansas City. And so then they were going to, we're close. St. Joe is pretty close. And so I think that's why we kind of got tapped into being kind of like the next level of testing. So hopefully, I mean, they came on Thursday last week and we haven't heard anything from them since. So I probably just need to email them and say, okay, where are we? But
Well,
anyway,
my concern is we're a very small facility and I don't have an extra room that does just the sorting and the all that kind of stuff and or a dedicated printer that I can do it. So I'm just concerned that this process sounds like it's more labor intensive than what I'm even doing today. Because I have like now I've got 30 different libraries that I'm going to be sending stuff out to tomorrow.
So we found that in terms of space and amount of time it took, it was basically the same. It was just instead of it being done beforehand, it was done all at once, if that makes sense. Um, so, and it doesn't have to be a dedicated printer. It's just that we have a circ workroom and we don't really use that printer for anything else. But you could use any printer. It's just on regular paper. Um, but yeah, keeping the labels up. So you don't have to spend any time keeping the labels up and making sure that box or whatever or binder is filled with labels, but then you just have to do it all at once. So it for us it was the same. It was basically the same. It just kind of shifted in when we did it.
Because
You
it
guys
sounds
may,
like if
is
they're
that
printing
the,
3 labels on one piece of paper, you're going to have to stop and cut those up to move them to between the different. I mean, that to me sounds more time consuming than already just having labels ready you can pull out and slap on.
Yeah, but like I said, you would have had to print off those labels and cut those out at a previous time. So it's just a matter of
when you're
you had
doing it.
when you're doing it. And I will say, you can print all your labels that you need. Like usually what I do when I'm doing it is you put in every library you're doing, print them all, and then you can actually you can cut them all out at one time. But
so I'm curious if the lack of worry about having to update addresses and keeping that binder full, is that kind of the primary benefit that we're seeing from the new system? I mean, I know it's just a test run right now, but what are we hoping to
I think the
get
primary
from
Yeah,
it?
that's
benefit
my
is,
question is what's the goal? What's the
I
goal of
think
all
that
of this?
I think
I
it
believe the
has.
goal is for Mala to be able to track where when we contact them and say, okay, this we sent it on this date, it was supposed to go here. Nobody knows what happened to it, that there is some kind of process that you can go back and
Ye-
yeah,
Okay.
I think it's the idea is, and I think there will be. Like I said, I think they're still determining when things get scanned, if it's when it gets to a hub, when it leaves a hub, when how that works. But I think it's supposed to help them track things better. I don't know that there's any particular advantage other than that. Because like I said, for us, the amount of work and time and space, it all seems about the same. It's just shifted in how in workflow. Um, but I think it's to help them be able to track items down.
so there'll be more information to come as we find out more. Thank you for North Kansas City already kind of getting some of the bugs out before they came to us. They already had made some handy screenshots of things and things like that. So hopefully by the time it rolls out to everybody, most of these bugs will be worked out of it. And so anyway, that's where we are with that. Um, Down under other, I did want to remind you, Bontaire's go live date is April 2nd. Their resource sharing will begin on April 15th. That is not the same thing as saying that we might be sending them things before April 15th. It's just they won't be sharing back with us until April 15th. Um, then Sedalia's go live date is April 9th, and their resource sharing is going to begin on the 22nd. So both of those libraries coming on pretty quickly.
And I believe those records for both of those libraries are visible in the catalog right now.
Just not holdable. Okay. I am just going to say right here and now, I have on here, next meeting will be April 28th. And that is my plan at this moment. But here's the deal. Many of us are going to be together at the users conference on the 24th. So depending upon how, if some kind of critical issue comes up during the month, we'll definitely go ahead and have a meeting. If there's nothing that I feel like, okay, we need to talk about this now, um, there's a good chance that I just might say that'll be one of those months that we have to do 10 out of 12 months. So we always take December off because it's right by Christmas. But that might turn into our other month that we are not meeting. So I'm just kind of giving you that little heads up before we get there. I just don't know what will happen. Oh, look, Liz says they canceled their April because of the meeting. So, there you go. We might have president. But like I say, if there's something that is really critical that I think the CERC community probably needs to talk about, then we will meet. Otherwise, there's a good chance we won't. So, last but not least, by any means, is there any other issues that someone would like to talk about today? Are you okay?
Sorry, I was going to talk and then I coughed. I was actually just a quick question. I was going to ask just a quick word about what you do procedures for canceled transits. We have had some instances where other libraries canceled transit on our items and didn't communicate with us about it. So I think we are talking about maybe shelf checks and then checking with that library. But is there anything else that anyone does to try to resolve those? Do you have reports that run to send them to you regularly, or do you just find them in other ways? Just curious about people's thoughts on that.
Heather, I do a weekly report of lost and missing, and I've been thinking about including, because it's just a status report, right?
Right.
And I could include canceled transits just to see what's out there in our system, but also again, it's just communicating with other, like if you do something like that, a best practice is to contact the other library. But I know how that is. That's like saying staff training is gonna,
What's the
Heather, are these
downside of,
canceled? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what's the downside of not calling the other library? What's the big deal about not, I'm just wondering how it looks on the
Well,
other
it
side?
stays. The problem is that canceled transit status, it will never be cleared on its own. So if we
Right.
don't see that it's in canceled transit status, then we don't know what's going on with it. So if the last time we saw it was at a library that's kind of far away, they sent it to us and then canceled the transit. I think we don't really know what that means. So or did they check it out to someone? Did it just go missing?
You don't know who has it or where it's at.
Yeah, so we don't know if
So
it's available or missing or.
So what's the item? I'm curious what is the item doing in that situation? Where is it sitting? Is it on a truck somewhere?
So that's what we don't. That's
That's
it.
the
That's what we
point.
don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to play the whole scenario out.
Yeah.
So in my head,
It's a
so
mystery. Canceled transit is just a mystery.
as far
Well,
as the item goes, it's sitting in a tub that says NNCL on it, and it's going to come onto my library, right? And I'm going to scan it, and it's going to turn around and move on to the next place or go home, correct? Because I mean, the item can't move itself, so it's going to continue on its travel. Nobody's
But
going to grab it.
if we had scanned it again, it wouldn't be in canceled transit anymore.
right.
No, I'm saying it'll continue on. If it's coming to me and I cancel the transit on it, because, well, no, I can't. The only ones that, never mind, forget it. I see.
Okay, we mark ours as missing. I was told to never leave canceled transit and canceled
Right.
transit status. So
Yes.
we mark ours as missing when we do the transit list.
You see, I
Right
was going
away.
there
Oh,
just
yeah,
Diane
that's right. That's
Disbro.
right.
It's a two-step process. If
Yeah.
you
That's right.
mark something
That's what I
cancel
was trying to say.
transit,
Where's that second step at? I couldn't see it. Oh, that's the,
Right. And then
yeah.
if it turns up somewhere, I mean, most of the time it's something that's been long in transit.
Hmm.
Or, if it's something that we pull and we realize that it's damaged, hopefully we're deleting that before we scan it into to transit it, of course. Otherwise, it would just be deleted after that point, and then it wouldn't exist anyways. But we always do missing.
Mark
To
it.
kind of piggyback off of Heather's question, when you guys are doing your transit list, like long in transit list, do some of you delete these items? Or do you guys have so I delete missing items after 2 years because I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic that they're going to show up somewhere. Do they? Most of the time, no. We had a situation where we got a Camden County item and the transit slip said February 13th, 2026. We got it to our library and it was March 18th. So it took a little over a month for it to get to the borrowing library, and the item was deleted. But it had a transit slip in it. So I wasn't sure if that was like a long in transit thing, or maybe it was just a weird fluke that happened and it got deleted accidentally. So it's kind of the same question that Heather had is what are you guys doing with those items?
it's probably a conversation with the owning library.
Yeah.
In that particular situation, did you really intend to delete it? Do you want
Right,
it
and that's what
back?
we couldn't figure out. Yeah, it was super weird. We haven't had that happen, but I was like, well, maybe it was like long in transit, because it had hit that just a little bit over 4 weeks. Um, but we've never had that happen. So I'm just gonna call it a fluke.
4 weeks would seem really
I
quick. I mean, I
right,
think
that's what I was thinking. I was like, why would you delete this?
Yeah, we may, if it's like over 4 months and it's our
Yes.
items, then we
Right.
may go ahead and delete it. I'm wondering if we need to kind of refresh and redo this whole policy with how we are supposed to handle the long in transit items, because it is a confusing process and there's so many different steps. Like I typically run the reports. We have multiple branches, so I send it to the branches to check their shelves. Well, then
Mm-hmm.
I have to compile what may need deleted and then try to contact the other libraries for anything that belongs to another library, let alone maybe trying to track ours down that may be on some other library shelf.
it is
The only
difficult
time I
because
deal
I don't
with
want
these,
to.
oh, go ahead, Heather.
I'm sorry, Terry.
No,
I
you're
know we
good.
don't want to ever tell a library what to do with their items, but I do have a couple of holds I've been keeping my eye on that they're not hopeless because technically there's an item, but that item has been in
Mm-hmm.
transit for 6 years. Like that item is
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
So it would be if we did have a standard about marking things missing at 6 months or something, then those holds wouldn't just get stuck. So I'm sorry, Terry. I cut.
No, you're good. Yeah, I love what you say. I was trying to think. The only time I deal with this situation is doing hopeless holds. That's what I was about to say. Is I'm looking there, and most of the holds are my own items. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm getting myself up out of my chair, going out to the shelf myself, making sure it's not on our shelf, or calling the branch and make sure it's not over there, and then marking it missing. And then I try to redo the hold for the patron if there's another copy anywhere. But sometimes on there are other libraries things, and they're already marked missing, but they're on my hopeless holds list. So they've already done the same thing evidently I did. And so now that transit's, it's okay to cancel that because it's showing in transit on the patron end.
Well, you're going to cancel that.
Right. So it's
Hopefully
okay.
the other
That's what I'm
library
saying.
would cancel that transit.
You'd think.
Yeah, I would say when I started this job, I was told to not touch anybody else's items.
Mm-hmm.
We should only touch our items, and it's the owning library's responsibility to take care of their lists. Um, but there are things that I see. I mean, I've seen things from 2017 that are still technically in transit from another library, and I'm like, well, that thing's long gone, and I don't know
Well,
what to do with it. And you can see the patron barcode, and so we'll mark our items missing, and then we place another hold if it's coming to fulfill a hold. Um, but I know Rhonda updated the long in transit directions like back in August. It was over the
Something
summer.
around there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had extended it to 6 weeks, I believe, because it was 4 weeks.
I don't know. I
It was
can't
like 4 to 6 weeks. Just because I know delivery's taken a little bit longer. We've been on the struggle bus with Capital Express since they've assumed the courier service. So I give it like 2 months at this point.
I was just gonna say when I do the long in transit, I usually do like 3 to 4 months because I'd rather kind of wait and see if stuff
Yeah.
shakes out because there
Yep.
were, gosh, I don't know how many reports I sent to Mala, but we got for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, like every courier delivery, we would get bags and buckets that were like meant for a whole nother library. So they were coming to us, then we have to wait until our next day to ship it back out and report it. And so I just try to give it extra time. But I was also going to say I feel like there are so many like reports and things that CERC people do, but I have one day a week. Okay, this day I try to, look at hopeless holds. This day I look at long in transit. And I've started taking a day where I generate a lost and missing to say, okay, well, this has been missing and the status changed was, like Macy said, 2 years ago. So I'm going to delete this item so that it's no longer showing in the system when it's not really in the system. And I think it would be good to have maybe a procedure or best practice of sort of like we do with the hopeless holds or the long in transit. Like, here's what you can do to, but at the same time, every time I look at my, gosh, is it long in transit? It's all other people's items, right? And then if
That's the way mine is.
well, and sometimes when you message people and you just hear nothing back. So then am I emailing them every week? Am I ignoring it? And so and I mean, I get it because I'm always overwhelmed by all the things, but if you can't do anything with anybody else's items, but then they're always on your lists, what do you do?
It sounds like
Hey,
it'd be
girls.
really help. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jen.
It sounds like it'd be really helpful to have a more comprehensive list of all of the maintenance things, reports, searches, all of those things that we should all theoretically be doing. Do we? I don't think we have anything like that right now, do we?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, I have my personal list of things that I do, and probably everybody else has their personal list. So I'm thinking,
I would love to see everybody's list, honestly, because maybe there's something I'm doing I do not need to do. And I'd like to take it off my list.
Heather asked a question in the chat about it being a reporting thing. I don't know if anybody else here's a cataloger, but every single month we get an email with all of the cataloging reports of things that we need to be taking a look at, like items attached to electronic records or items attached to deleted bibs. And I mean, I don't 100% go through all of it every month, but I try to pick a report and be like, okay, do we have items on this list that I need to take care of?
I do use that report. I do.
Right. So I don't know if CERC could have that. Like, here are the reports you need for the tasks you need to complete, or.
okay, here's what I think might be our solution for this. I don't think we're going to be able to figure that out today, but I do believe we could start, the CERC committee could start a new email chain to kind of talk about some of these things, and then report back, and perhaps develop okay, here's a good report for this. Here's a good report for this. And then kind of make sure that, well, not kind of, then make sure that every library has at least access to and knows what those recommended reports would be, and a reasonable schedule for running them. I mean, not every report do you need to run every week. That's just overkill. But, what would be a reasonable, here's the reports, and this is a reasonable time frame a recommended time frame, realizing that sometimes life interferes, library, other things in the library interfere. So,
And not just reports, I mean, just tasks that should be done on a regular basis. A new person coming in. I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm new. We joined October 2020. I feel like I'm a new person. And I learned something new every week about Evergreen. That would have been so nice to know 5 years ago, So maybe just some tasks to do.
Right, because I think if everyone gets on board and like does the long in transit list and at least checks their shelves for either their items and the other items that are potentially showing up in transit to or from your location, if everyone looks at that, I think we could actually resolve a ton of these transit items.
Yeah, I think it's just really key is monitoring that in transit list or the transit to and transit from list. I mean, everybody should be looking at that. And I think, everyone's different sizes and different staffing. I know it might be harder for some other libraries, but I think it's critical because these are most of the time holds for our patrons. And we should know where these things are, especially with the new courier service we have.
Yeah. Okay, so subcommittee, it probably won't be till next week that I will send out anything on this, just because, like I said at the beginning, this is a crazy week for me. So, look for that sometime next week, and then we'll go from there. Okay. I always think these meetings are going to be short. They turn into an hour long. So, is there any other critical thing that we need to talk about? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. So, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope to see many of you at the users conference. And other than that, go do the library world.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Bye.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Bye, guys.